Should you use melatonin to help you get through withdrawal symptoms or on the days where you struggle with insomnia? Well, I would be probably the first person to tell you to not go down this path because few people really understand what melatonin is. Melatonin is a hormone at the end of the day. And just like messing with any other hormone in the body, when you start getting it from an outside source through supplementation, your body will stop producing it on its own. That hormone will stop being produced by your body because it's getting it from the external source. The same can be said for those on testosterone replacement therapy, is if you even qualify to get on something like that, even though you'll have some testosterone production of your own, when you get on that, the doctors will tell you that it will shut down your own testosterone production entirely, especially over the course of time of using it. The same can be said for melatonin. So what happens is a lot of people experience these uncomfortable and undesirable withdrawal symptoms. It's very understandable why someone would not want to go through that. So some people will take melatonin on particularly difficult days to help them sleep and get through those little windows of uncomfortability. So if that's something that you're struggling with, that discomfort, said properly, then obviously melatonin should not be something that you go towards. Because if you're using it for withdrawal symptoms, if you're using it as well for the times where you're not able to fall asleep due to insomnia, you are now starting to supplement a hormone into the body. Now, what you can do that will help you with sleep in general is you can get magnesium oil and rub that on the bottom of your feet. That'll help you actually sleep tremendously better. It's something I do just in general because I like how energized I feel in the morning because of it. And at the same time, you can take whole milk if you don't have a lactose intolerance issue with about a teaspoon of honey and then warm that up on the stove. Don't allow it to boil, but just get it to where it's nice and hot. So then you would drink that down. And what that will do is it will encourage your body to produce more melatonin naturally. It is not you're replacing melatonin. You're just encouraging your body to create more of it. That's how you won't cause an issue to where when you come off of melatonin, you now start to struggle with insomnia because your body isn't producing melatonin on its own anymore. And that's where a lot of people can get themselves into trouble. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. Why is there insomnia for a lot of people? Why is there these withdrawal symptoms for a lot of people? Well, we'll start with the withdrawal symptoms. Withdrawal symptoms really are emotional for the most part. There's mood swings, anxiety, depression, boredom, anger. All those things, for the most part, are a feeling that you have within the body. They are something you are experiencing and that really affect your quality of life. They affect your mind, they can affect your body, and just your overall perception of your ability to remain sober. That is because your body has something that's been going on that when you use the marijuana to get through those issues such as anxiety, depression, and whatnot, which is where a lot of people turn to marijuana, is for the ability to cope and get through a day. Well, your body still has that issue, even when you get off of the marijuana. It's something that you have yet to address. You have to get to the root cause of why you have anxiety, because chances are you weren't born with anxiety. All emotions, for the most part, are built into our system to be activated to help us navigate difficult scenarios. So having anxiety when going out in public could be something on a facing rejection level. It is your body's way of keeping you away from a perceived threat. Depression could be a way that your body is allowing you to take a break and maybe stay inside a little bit and become more introspective, to meditate on what it is in your life that needs to change. What themes keep coming up? What thoughts are you having when it comes to this depression, when it comes to this anxiety, when it comes to anger? Because anger is known even as a secondary emotion. It is there to protect you from something you just went through. So somebody could have crossed a boundary and been disrespectful. Then you find yourself reflecting back later, angry that you didn't self-advocate, that you didn't speak up for yourself, because there's a fear of confrontation. There's a fear of something else. And so all emotions are our body's way of trying to help us deal with issues in our life. And when you resolve that root issue of maybe not feeling like you can self-advocate, now you find yourself less angry in life because you live a more authentic and congruent life. You speak up in the moment. You're somebody that is a bit more blunt in their delivery. And the same can be said for things with anxiety, depression, and mood swings. So when you address the emotional components of withdrawal symptoms, you tend to not experience withdrawal symptoms. And that's where the things like insomnia also kind of come in, because let's face it, when you wake up at 1 or 3 a.m. in the morning, your brain is most likely highly alert. It's active. You're contemplating or stewing over something that you went through. And your body is now giving you extra time in the morning to figure out a solution, to find a way to survive this issue. And so if you address the root cause, you don't need melatonin. You don't really experience the withdrawal symptoms. About 10% of the clients that I see after our first session to help them get over the marijuana addiction, maybe 10% of them end up coming back for the additional 2 sessions that remain for withdrawal symptoms. But for the most part, it's just done in 1 session, and they no longer are addicted to marijuana and they don't have withdrawal symptoms. And then the branching out effect of quitting those things and dealing with the subconscious issues that were underneath the addiction is they find they don't struggle with anxiety. They don't struggle with the depression. They don't struggle with the very thing that kept them on marijuana to begin with. So that's where I would even suggest, if you're going to try something to help you sleep better, do the magnesium oil or do the honey and milk. Those things can help you without causing more harm, because you don't want to be taking a synthetic hormone that is going to cause your body to stop producing its own natural melatonin. Because when you do that and you do come off because you've gotten through some of the withdrawal symptoms or that you've gotten through the insomnia, now you're going to have insomnia because your body has to remember to start producing its own hormones again, because it's not getting it through an external means. Our bodies are literally quite lazy in nature. If it's going to get it externally, why produce its own as well? It doesn't need to, because it requires no energy, no effort. So when it really boils down to here is that your addiction is there for a legitimate reason. And you probably already understand this because you've maybe even relapsed a couple times because of the overwhelming issues in your life. Whether it's just the thoughts of originally you wanted to quit, and then you find later on you start coming up with all these new reasons to why marijuana wasn't that bad and I'm just going to return. You had 2 different contrasts there. You were motivated to quit, and then you got motivated to start smoking again. And that's your brain consciously and subconsciously in conflict. So when you resolve the subconscious stuff, you no longer have that back and forth experience. You've just quit and you're done with it. And you can move forward and experience life in a sober place, but in a place where you're not infected by the emotional intensities that got you to smoke in the first place, whether that's anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, or anything else. So when you're ready to deal with those things, you'll find that the rest of your life gets easier because there was an emotional component that you actually addressed. So if you continue down the path of trying different things, avoiding the dispensaries or getting rid of friends and getting rid of the weed paraphernalia and getting an accountability buddy or a tracking app of how many days you've been sober, those things are good to do, I guess, but they're really unnecessary, because if they worked, those things wouldn't really have that huge of a backlash, because a lot of people that do those very things end up still relapsing. So what you're doing is only kind of being a band-aid for the very big wound of why you're smoking. It's like, okay, you can keep track of how long you're sober, but you still relapse. You can quit your friend groups because they smoke marijuana, but you, again, will still relapse. You can, not drive down the street with a dispensary, but chances are you'll still relapse. That's because you're only addressing what you are consciously aware of, and that's usually not the problem. That's why you relapse. So when you're ready for change, reach out.